Hello everyone. Today we will discuss Unit 2 of MPC 001, that is cognitive psychology. And earlier we have discussed, like you can say, introductory part of cognitive psychology. And in this unit we will talk about information processing in learning and memory. Right. So we'll cover like introduction, what are the objectives, learning and memory. Cognitive information processing means how we process information, and information processing in learning and memory. What is the role of information processing learning? How we learn and how we memorize. And then we'll talk about theories of information processing. Right. So as we discussed, like cognitive psychology is all about how we think, how we memorize, how we take decisions, how we solve problems, all those things. So, the objective of this unit is define the concept of learning and memory, explain types of memory, explain cognitive processing, information processing, and explain the theories of information processing. Right. So, first thing, like we have to understand what is learning and memory. So, learning is actually is a permanent change in your behavior, because we see many things in during the day and we hear many things. It simply means we get lot of information from our senses. So we have lot of input from outside environment, but we don't remember each and everything. So and we forget about it. So we can say learning is a permanent change in behavior. Whatever you learn, that is your learning. It is not like what you have seen and you forget about it. So that is not a learning. So learning is acquired new knowledge, behavior, skills, values, preferences, or understanding, and may involve synthesizing and processing different types of information. So understand, learning is about acquiring new knowledge. You learned something, like you have learned some language, or you have learned like driving a car, that is your skill, or or you have learned a new behavior, how to behave in front of your colleagues or in front of your boss, and your value system that you learn from childhood, and the preferences, understanding how you understand your environment, that, and like it is uh, like processing lot of information. Suppose like you have seen someone, so the memories related to that will come up, and you know, if you know that person, and maybe how the person like talk, how they behave. So all the information get activated when you meet that person. So that is your learning actually. So, and something, if you're learning something like suppose you are learning some new language, so what happens is you get you have to understand the sound the person is making, means your teacher is making, who is teaching you some language, and how you move your tongue so that particular type of sound you can produce, and how you will write that thing. So your sensory, like auditory sensory inputs, like auditory and kinesthetic, means how you move your tongue, and how you will write, any your visual, and hand coordination must be there. So all things are like involved, and you process everything. Suppose whatever I am talking right now it is kind of learning. It is a learning actually. I have learned how to move my tongue to produce certain kind of sound, so that other people can understand. So these are the things, and whatever I have learned till now in psychology about learning, so all those things are coming, processing together. So that is the second line that we have discussed. He and may involve synthesis and processing different types of information, so that we have to understand. Then there was a person like Benjamin Bloom 1960 has suggested three domains of learning. क्या है three domains of learning that I will talk about. Like cognitive. So cognitive, as I discussed, is like recall. Recall means the thing that you remember and you are recalling it, right? So suppose I am talking about some like thing or some person whom you know, and then you will recall the memory related to that, and the calculate, like all mathematical like operations that you do, and discuss, analyze anything. When you are analyzing it, suppose you are buying some new mobile phone, so you are analyzing it, okay, how it is different from older one, what are the like benefit of this, all those things you decide, I have to buy it or not, that kind of thing you are doing. And the problem solving, and problem solving means like you are taking a decision, okay, now I have to buy this mobile or not buy this mobile, because if, till then you have some conflict, but when you have decided, then you have solved the problem. And psychomotor. Psychomotor means it is a kind of kinesthetic. Psychomotor, what is psycho means your mind, and motor means like motor activity. So suppose you are thinking of some like something that is disturbing you, so you may be restless, so you are thinking, that is psychological activity, and you are becoming restless, it is a motor activity, so it is inter related, right? So psychomotor is like, suppose you want to dance, so first you have to think that step in your mind, that is psychological activity, then you have to produce it in front of others, or so certain kind of movement, so that is like psychomotor activity. So that, and psychomotor activity is like dance, swimming, skiing, diving, driving a car, ride a bike. These kind of things are psychomotor activity. When you are driving a car, you are looking in front of your car, and you are driving. So suppose someone is coming in your way, so you just turn your car, or you accordingly you use your steering. So these are the things that we can say or psychomotor. So cognitive, psychomotor, and now we are talking about affective, that is related to your emotions. Something like love, and these are bit like abstract terms, you can say. uh, so something or someone love, appropriate, appreciate, sorry, fear, hate, worship. So these are the emotions, है ना? तो we process that also, and because thought process is also related to that. Like you can say कि like you have certain information, or you have some good experiences with some person, so when you see that person, yeah, and you are getting information from outer world, and then you process that information, this person is a very good person, so you have some positive emotions related to that, and you go or hug him or something like that, that is a psychomotor activity. So that is like your emotions, so they are interrelated, your emotions, your cognitions, and your motor activity, or you can say behavior. And the second thing is memory. And memory is like storage. It's like you have stored lot of information in your brain. So first thing is like sensory memory. Sensory memory is affiliated with the transduction of energy. Transduction of energy means you have to understand when you will maybe you have like studied chapter perception, maybe somewhere in your uh, some unit, maybe in this paper or some other, maybe in this paper only, I don't know. But sensory memory is the information that you are getting फ्रॉम एनवायरमेंट. कहाँ से? एनवायरमेंट से आपको इन्फॉर्मेशन मिल रही है. एंड देन ये दैट इंफॉर्मेशन कैसे आपके पास जा रही है? थ्रू सेंस ऑर्गन्स. सेंस ऑर्गन्स के थ्रू आपके पास जा रही है. कहाँ जा रही है? दैट इज गोइंग टू in your brain, that goes to your brain actually. So and your brain process it, right? So अब the thing is, uh, when this sensory information from environment goes to your brain, it is not processed as it is. Understand this. Just like in computers, like everything is processed in binary language, in some other language. So the information, whatever, like movie or image or any data you are entering in your computer, so first that will be changed into the language, or you can say in a binary language or some other language, so that your computer understand it and process it, because they will not, the computer will not process directly. So so similarly, when the information goes to your brain, right, so it is a physical energy, like whatever you are seeing in the environment, like light hai, and light, sound and all, these are the physical energies, right? So they change into, you can say, some electrical stimulation, because हमारा जो brain है, the our brain that process the information differently, so that change into some electrical energy. So and this changing, the process of changing, the process of changing from sensory to electrical activity, called as transduction, right? That is what transduction is, because we you have to understand it. And that is why sensory memory says sensory memory is a affiliated with the transduction of energy, change from one form of energy to another. The environment makes available a variety of source of information: light, sound, smell, heat, code, but the brain only understands the electrical stimulation. So to process the information, that has to be changed in the electrical stimulation. And this memory is very short, right? Less than half second for vision, 3 seconds for the hearing. So this is a very short period memory, right? And the sensory memory retains an exact copy of what is seen and heard, visual or auditory. So sensory memory is like, if you have seen, like you have if you have attended some like party or something, where the one song like repeatedly is playing. So when you leave the party, even in night, you can hear that sound. That is your sensory thing. So sensory memory is the exact copy of what you have seen, right? That is like that image remains in your brain. So that was the sensory memory. And then we are coming to the short term memory. After entering sensory memory, it is like that. Understand, this is sensory memory, sensory sensory memory. So, and this is the environment, and from environment you are getting some information to sensory memory, but you can remember only for few seconds. If it is like valuable for you or worth like retaining it, then it goes to short term memory. And if that the like if there also you feel that it is a very important information, so that your brain send it to long term memory. So this is the process. So now we are talking about the short term memory. So after entering sensory memory, a limited amount of information is transferred into short term memory. Selective attention determines what information moves from sensory memory to short term memory. And now we have to understand another concept, that is selective attention. Like when you are moving or walking in a market, actually, so you are getting lot of information, like there are number of people, there are number of sounds, there are number of like colors, streets and all, right? People are talking about different kind of issues. So all these things are, so there are inf- information overload, right? So you cannot take all the information. That is the limitation of our brain. Just like a pen drive or hard disk, we have a limited storage space, you can say. So we select some information which seems relevant to us, and we process it to short term memory. So this selection of certain things is called as selective attention, right? So selective attention means determining which information is like good for you to process, so you take that information into short term memory. And the short term memory is most often stored as a sound, especially in recalling words, but maybe stored in image. So as a sound and as a image storage आपका होता है. and it works basically the same as computers RAM. रैम जो होती है, रैम रैंडम एक्सेस मेमोरी जिसको हम बोलते हैं, इसका काम क्या होता है? इसका काम ये होता है कि द रैम इज रैंडम एक्सेस मेमोरी. सपोज you can say you have a computer or even mobile. So what is the work of RAM is like, this is like external environment from where you are getting information, and this is long term memory where lot of information is storage, right? So information from like after selective attention comes here, this is short term memory, right? uh, and it is, this is the place. So all the manipulation and working happens here, just like a computer or you can say mobile. So random access memory means like whatever operations will be done then will be done here. This is the space जहाँ पे बॉस यहाँ पे stored है, यहाँ से आपको information मिल रहा है, but all the things will be processed here in short term memory. The reason being, and when the processing is over and it goes to long term memory, then this information like you can erase. So it is kind of like when you are opening number of applications in your mobile, so it gets slow because there is a limited space of random access memory. So you can process a minimum or maximum level of, there is a limit that apps you can open in that area, and if it is like more than that, it gets slow or it will be like hanged. So that kind of thing is, तो random access memory की तरह short term memory काम करती है. So and in that provides working space or short computation, and then transfer it to other parts of memory system, and or discard it if it is like you process it here. If it is not important, it is sent, or you can say deleted, and if it is important then it goes to long term memory. Up the characteristics of the short term memory we'll talk about, like 7 pieces of independent information. Limited capacity kitna hai? The limited capacity of STM is, you can say 7 plus minus 2. This is the maximum or minimum limit. Plus minus 2 yani means 5 to 9 things you can remember at one time, or you can store in a STM short term memory. The brief duration of these items lasts for 3 to 20 seconds. कितना हो सकता है? 3 to 20 seconds. Remember it. This may be asked in your exam. Decay appears to be primary mechanism of memory loss. Decay means like यहाँ पे if it is not used, then it is like it goes out. This process we call decay, and we forget about the information. Then this is the same experiment as I said. George Miller has done this experiment. George Miller, classic 1956 study, found that amount of information which can be remembered on one exposure is between 5 to 9 items. जो मैंने बोला था 7 plus minus 2, that is 5 to 9, है ना? तो and then depending on the information, applying a range of +2 to -2, the number 7 becomes known as Miller's magic number. So they call it Miller's magic number. So that was the thing. Now we are talking about, while STM there are 3 basic operation. What are these 3 basic? Iconic memory, number 1, number 2 acoustic memory, and working memory. So iconic memory, ability to hold visual image, like you have seen something, so it is kind of photograph, like whatever you have seen you remember it, so we call it iconic memory. It is a part of short term memory. You understand this thing, this question may come up, or when you are writing your question you can and you can write it the basic operations of short-term memory. And that's an acoustic memory. Acoustic memory is the ability to hold sounds, whatever you have heard, you remember as it is. So that is acoustic memory. And acoustic memory can be held longer than iconic memory. So the duration of that is higher than iconic memory. And then the working memory, we call working memory, and relate what we are thinking about any given moment. So like working memory is just like हमने आर एम की बात किया था, तो working memory is like this is a space. Suppose you have the numbers and everything you have stored in your ब्रेन. तो ब्रेन में क्या है, लाइक यू नो व्हाट इज प्लस, व्हाट इज माइनस, व्हाट इज नंबर 6 or number 8, any number and all those things, you know that, right? And in external environment, like your teacher has given you something like tell me what is 6 and 8, 6 plus 8, so you just process that information here, 6 plus 8 equal to 14, right? So that whatever operation you are doing, that you are doing in your working memory. This is a space where you work, you can say, just like when you are solving any mathematical problem, to you use some rough papers, or similarly in mobile when you are calculating something on your calculator, so you are doing it in a space where for like some a period of time, and after that it will be automatically deleted. So some, that is working memory, you can say, in our sense, in our brain. So this is our where you do a lot of operations related to, or think and manipulate information, and then when the result comes out, then you that memory get erased, because that is not required for you. Okay, how you reach that conclusion. So that is working memory. So working memory is called working memory, or relate to what we are thinking about at given moment in time. तो उस point of time पे what you are thinking, suppose whatever you are thinking at this moment of time, that is happening in your working memory, after some time it will get deleted if it is not important for you, right? So that is one thing. Then other thing is, like we are talking about long term memory. Long term memory, it is a relatively permanent change, you can say, or learning storage. So information is stored on the basis of meaning and importance. See how important it is, like what is the meaning of that information, and process of transferring information from STM to LTM involves the encoding or consolidation and of information. Encoding means like changing information into binary language in computer. Similarly, changing information into some chemical inputs in your brain. So that, and when it is transformed into that in that sense, then it went to long term memory. So that is what long term memory. It is like lifelong. There is a no limit when you you will forget it. Just like if you know your name, your father's name, your school where you studied, and first your first day of your job, or when you get selected for certain job, something like that. So all comes under long term memory. Right, and then on the more concrete level, the use of chunking has been proven to be significant for enhancing STM. Chunking means like let's me below. These are the few techniques that you can use for your in enhancing your memory. Suppose there is a number 9336215199 kind of, right? So as we know, in short-term memory we can only remember 7 plus minus 2 information, but there is 10. So if you want to increase your information holding, then what you have to do, you chunk it. Like, so what we chunk in 93, 36, 21, 51, 99. So this becomes only 5 digits for you. So we do that also, like we do like 93, 362, 15, 199. So that becomes the chunks. These are the 5 chunks. You can make it less also, depending on what numbers you have. So we call this process of enhancing the memory, we call chunking. ठीक है. And after chunking, there is another concept, we call it schemas. है ना. Schemas are the mental model of the world. Information in LTM is stored in interrelated networks of these schemas. These in turn form uh, intricate knowledge and structure. Right. So related schemas are linked together, and information that activates one schema also activate others, and that are the closely linked. This is how we recall relevant knowledge when a similar information is presented, and these schemas guide by like diverting our attention to a relevant information, allow us to uh, disregard what is not important. So schemas are mental models of the world, right? A mental model of the world that you have to understand what it is, right? Suppose there is a chair. So when you talk about chair, you think about it or you don't think about. What we have learned is chair has like four legs, right? And you can sit on it. Hmm. It is stable. ऐसा नहीं है कि you will fall. Sometimes it happens, but it is stable, and it has some support, back support, you can say. So these kind of things a chair has, right? Ab now what happens is when we talk about this schema, so whatever information you have learned from childhood, right? Whenever you were taught what is chair or table, something like that, and when you are getting information from environment, right? So information जो environment से हमें मिल रही है, suppose you have seen some um, like rocking chair. So a rocking chair has all these like qualities, but that is different from the normal chair, right? Similarly, if you have seen dining chair, similarly if you have seen the chair where you rest, like lying on that or something like that, but you know that it is chair because it is meeting certain criteria, right? So even it is like you can say beach chair or rocking chair or some other kind of chair is there, you can identify it. So uh, it helps you to store the information in a proper manner. Otherwise everything will be jumbled up and you won't be able to remember or recall the information. So that schema does these things to us. So how we make sense of your environment, and how you basically, and more than that, basically how you will you can say uh, like uh, organize your information, how you understand your world is dependent on your share. Because if you will store all kind of share differently, then there will be a lot of chaos, because there will be a lot of information and you have limited capacity, so everything will be jumbled up. So that is why when you are studying something, if you remember studying something and you are not able to understand, so what does it mean? You are not able to organize that information, and when you understand it, means you are organizing that information in a way that you can recall, you can understand, you can process that. So that is possible because of these schemas and not mental models. So that is what schemas are. So so that is what schemas are. So since LTM storage, next line is storage is organized into schemas. Instructional designer should activate existing schemas before presenting new information, can be helpful in processing the new information. So suppose we say na ki warm up activities. So when we do some these kind of activities, we activate your like our schemas. So we say na ki when there is a flow, we can read, and when we stop and there is no flow, we are not in a flow, so then it becomes difficult because your schemas are not activated. When you start studying something, so you start relating with that. So that is what activation of schemas. And then LTM, long term memory, also has a strong influence on perception through top down processing. or prior knowledge affect how we perceive sensory information. So understand top down process. Top down process means our expectation regarding a particular sensory experiences influence how we interpret it. Like we have certain information in your brain, right? So you already know some, you have certain information. Suppose there are a lot of prejudice also. Just suppose you have information ki people from certain states, let's say from Delhi, they have certain kind of like characteristics. They are not trustworthy, or they are very selfish or something like that, whatever you have prejudices you have. And then you meet a person from that state. So as soon as you meet and you get to know that person is from Delhi, right? So what will happen? Your these schemas and these things will be activated, and you will perceive that person in that light, right? So that is what the information processing is. So our expectation regarding particular sensory experience influence how we interpret it. So how you will interpret it, because dependent on your what you are expecting based on your experiences, है ना? So this is what like top down processing of prior knowledge. So today, like we have discussed like short-term memory, long-term memory, types of that, how we process information, and maybe next class we will start from cognitive information processing, right? So thank you very much for watching the class. If you have any query, you can just write it down. We'll try to respond it. Thank you very much.